many functions? Is it worthy? Does it have a real value? Is it superficial? Is it profound? Is it needed? So thank you so much for answering this question about art.
It depends on how the art was created. Art is a mirror that allows everyone perceiving the art to see reflections and symbols of what it is they need to see if they are willing to look. So sometimes art can be created through the idea of superficiality or something that's more profound, but it also requires the looker to come from either a superficial or a more profound place in order to get out of it whatever they need. And that part of it is up to them. But it's a mirror that offers an opportunity as a permission slip for people to look deeper within themselves, their consciousness, the archetypal symbols of the collective consciousness. Anything they wish to perceive about themselves can be seen in different kinds of art that are done for different reasons, according to what the belief system of the artist might be.
Hello, Bashar. How are you? My name is Dali. I'm from Chile.
Oh, all right. Good day.
Thank you very much for this experience. Well,
it is our pleasure.
When I was younger, I had an experience that led me to feel shame, guilt, and fear for many, many years. And as a side effect, I became more paranoid and vulnerable about interacting with other people and so on. Yes, and as a side effect, for many years, I developed this sense of vulnerability and paranoia with some other interactions.
Yes.
As fear, like, how can I explain this? I became more paranoid and vulnerable, and somehow irrationally, they get to link to this experience. So a month ago, I decided to work on this, and the reign of terror came to me. But now I see more clarity. But sometimes this anxiety, vulnerability, and paranoia feelings, they come to me, and I would like to know how to deal with them.
Well, you have to always start with what you now believe to be true about yourself in any given situation, because you cannot experience any emotion whatsoever if you don't already have a belief that you're buying into as being more probable than any other belief, as being true for you. So what beliefs do you have that would generate feelings that you're talking about?
Yeah.
What are they? What are they? What do you believe is true?
That someone would say something to me that I will feel vulnerable and more guilty and more ashamed that I have done before.
Why? Why would what someone says make you feel that way if you didn't believe it was true?
Because I guess the fear of guilt or feeling guilty.
You're talking in circles. You're talking in circles. You're saying that I am afraid to investigate the belief because it's going to make me feel more guilty, but the belief is what is making you feel guilty to begin with. So what do you believe you are guilty of?
Actually, for making a mistake to hurt someone.
Like what, for example?
I don't really want to talk about it.
Then I can't help you directly, but I can help you indirectly.
Okay.
You said it was a mistake.
Yeah.
That means you didn't intend to hurt them?
No.
All right. Then why are you punishing yourself for making a mistake? Have you learned from making the mistake that you don't want to do that again?
Yes, I did.
Then if you have learned the lesson, why are you still in the class learning the lesson over and over and over again instead of moving on and applying the lesson that you've learned and then not making the same mistake?
Yeah, so I guess I went into that belief, and then I realized that I was afraid of rejection, actually.
All right.
So I've been working more on self-love.
Yes.
And now it's better.
All right.
So much better. I see with way more clarity.
All
it's just sometimes I still feel this little anxiety, or maybe it's kind of like there's a little bit of emotion that still lingers, but now
that's fine. That's fine. Just keep moving toward the understanding that you are worthy, that you are deserving.
Yeah.
Love yourself more and more, and understand it's all right now and then to make a mistake. It's not the end of the world, because if you're willing to learn from it, then you will improve. You will become a different person that will then behave differently in the world toward others. There is no reason for you to feel guilty about that process. It's how many people on your planet learn. So just go along with it. As long as you're willing to learn from the mistake, then there is no reason for you to feel guilty for having made the mistake.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I know.
Now it feels so much better. I think synchronicities brought into my life many of the answers.
Yes, of course. That's how it works.
Yeah, indeed. And it's just sometimes just a little bit. I feel like scared of going out sometimes, but
At that moment, then stay with that. Don't go by it. Don't rush past it. Don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. Use that moment to find out what beliefs still remain within you that would create that anxiety. That's what that moment is for.
Perfect.
All right?
Perfect. May I ask you, is there any kind of affirmation that can help me open more that space?
That's up to you. Because affirmations are nothing more than permission slips that you give yourself to give yourself permission to change. So whatever you're attracted to use, the reason you're attracted to use it is because it will work for you.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I've been meditating. It's been so much better. I just had that main question that helps me so much, Bashar.
All right. Well, obviously, in many ways, you're doing just fine. So the only thing we would suggest is don't be so hard on yourself. You don't deserve it. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good day.
Thank you so much.
Hey Bashar, this is Michael from Tel Aviv, and I'm happy to be speaking with you. My question has to do with lucid dreaming. You once gave us a permission slip technique on how to wake up in our dream state, and once we do that, we can ask to be taken to the template level reality and change around some agreements, change around the stories we believe we're living. So my question is, if I manage to do that, can I remove all the negative beliefs that I might still be holding on to and wake up the next morning into a reality that's a lot more representative of who I am, of what I want, that is more true to me? Or will that shift be too much for my physical mind to handle? Will the change be too big? Will I recognize the reality once I wake up? So my question really is, what is the best way to utilize the ability to lucid dream once that ability is acquired? Thank you and good day.
You can wake up into a reality that is certainly more representative. You will not necessarily eliminate all of the processes you might need to go through in order to create that reality that is more reflective of your preference. Obviously, you would be able to handle it if you did it because you would be equivalent to that reality. Therefore, the idea that you couldn't handle it would be contrary to that reality. But visiting the template doesn't mean you remove everything. It doesn't erase the idea of the general collective agreement of the game you're playing in the earth physical reality game, as you say. But you can change certain things as long as they don't eliminate processes you believe you actually need in order to experience a deeper appreciation of the new reality that you're creating. So yes, you can change it to some degree. That doesn't mean you can just change everything, because again, that might be another way of saying you're attempting to avoid things that you actually need to experience in order to really create that reality in the way that truly works for you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Oh, great. How are you?
Perfect. And you?
Very good, thanks. My first
All
question is in regards to parallel universes, changing past and changing futures.
Yes.
As far as the changing past, why would jumping from frame to frame change the past? It's the past and our choices that brought us to the present.
Yes. However, remember that if you actually become a different person, which you do, anytime you make any change at all, you're jumping into a different frame. So let's look at this from a space-time perspective logically. Because you create the idea in space-time of continuity or cause and effect, you think that what you went through made you the person you are today. And in a sense, that's true. However, when you finally decide to change, that new person needs a past that may be more logically the path that created that person. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, let's say, well, let's say I took a picture in the past and I go and look at it, it's still there. Even though
No, it's still here.
It's still from there.
No, it's not. It's from here.
Yeah. Would it
You're
change?
creating an idea of a picture that you're looking at in the present as if it actually came from the past, but it doesn't. You're creating that picture in the present. And you're making the continuity assumption that it comes from the past. It doesn't.
So could that picture change in the present?
No.
No, okay.
That picture is that picture. This is one of the things that we address when we talk about the concept that you humans refer to as time travel. There's no such thing in the science fiction sense that you usually portray it. It's all about parallel reality. So we usually use this analogy. Let us say you are 10 years old and someone takes a picture. Now you have that picture, you put it on the table. There's the photograph of the 10-year-old. Now you become 30 and you invent a time machine. And you say, I'm going to go back into the past and I'm going to take a picture next to my 10-year-old self. And so you have that experience. You get in the machine, you go into what you think is the past, you go and find your 10-year-old self, or at least what you believe to be your 10-year-old self. You stand next to that particular 10-year-old, you have someone snap a picture. Now you have a picture of the 30-year-old and the 10-year-old, and you put that on the table when you come back to the present, so to speak. But you still have both pictures. There is a picture of the 10-year-old by himself and a picture of a 10-year-old with a 30-year-old, which obviously by definition, since both pictures exist, must be a different 10-year-old. So you just went into a parallel reality where you've taken a picture with a different 10-year-old that happens to look like you, assuming that it's actually you, but actually has nothing to do with your history.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, it will.
Because both pictures simultaneously exist on their own. Each frame is its own frame. You don't change the frame in a movie film strip. You go to another frame to change the image.
Yeah, I get that.
All the film strip frames all exist. You set your course through them with your consciousness as to what frames are relevant for you. So that's why we're saying when you change yourself, different frames may be relevant for who you now are. And you may not remember that you've changed the past to make sense of your present new self. It may always seem to be the past you've always had, but you don't actually know that. It just looks that way.
Okay.
So 5 minutes ago, the you are now, or the you used to be, may have had a completely different past than what you remember as the past right now, as the new person you are. But it will organize itself through continuity in physical space-time to make itself seem as if, oh yes, I've always had that past. But that's not necessarily true.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot to think about. Thank you.
All right, play with it. You're welcome. Thank you. Yes?
One more. When did all that is think of another? When did it occur and what was before?
You're asking a space-time question. Remember, space and time are subject to all that is. All that is not subject to space and time.
So it was just always there.
Existence only has one quality.
To exist.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not even an always, because that's a space-time word.
Yeah.
It just is. Does that help?
It will.
All right. Have fun with it.
I know this is a question, but do I have time for one more question?
Yes.
What does Jesus Christ's life, death, and rebirth represent for us here in physical reality? I'm also having a little trouble interpreting the dying for our sins part.
Yes, that is kind of, again, a human interpretation based on a fear-based belief system. The idea was to actually show you, if you go a little bit beyond the idea of the death, what came after.
Life.
Right? The idea of the resurrection, yes?
Reincarnation?
Resurrection.
Would it be translated to maybe reincarnation?
Not in the way that most people on your planet mean it, but the next transmission we're going to give next month of your time is all about the idea of reincarnation and how to look at it differently. So we can explain some of that later. But the idea right now is the whole process of an ascended master or a learned being going through that process on your behalf or on everyone else's behalf was to simply demonstrate the idea that while the body may seem to be impermanent, you as a being, as an entity, transcend time and space, and therefore no death is actually the end of anything.
Yeah. Okay, so the dying for our sins part, is that...
Let me retranslate it.
Yeah.
Yeshua went through that process and allowed the idea of the physical representation to seem to die in order to go beyond and show that a resurrection is the continuation of consciousness and the continuation of life beyond death, that you are greater beings than that. And the so-called dying for your sins simply means, let me show you that you have fear-based belief systems that are limiting you from understanding what I'm about to show you.
Okay.
So, in other words, the fear-based belief system is what is colloquially being referred to as your sins, because they place limitations on your consciousness that don't need to necessarily be there.
Yeah, okay.
Does that help?
It does.
All right, then thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Bashar. This is Jethro from Amsterdam. My question is about what is called spiritual bypassing. It is a term that pops up lately a lot in my experience in the so-called spiritual communities. And it states that people are using knowledge or spiritual knowledge and teachings in a way so that they don't have to work on themselves and not have to face what's happening on their inside, and basically to stay in a constant positive state or in a elevated state. My question is, as this could be also an exploration of the higher self or a spirit, is there even such a thing as spiritual bypassing? All right. Thank you, and goodbye.
In the way that has just been described, no. Because the very idea of attempting to avoid looking at certain things within the self that might be necessary for the evolution of your spiritual growth is a contradiction in terms and a completely different energy state. Therefore, the moment that someone avoids, they are actually going down in vibration into the negative states. Therefore, they're bypassing nothing. So the idea is, yes, you can have moments where you're focused on the idea of your relationship with the higher mind, and it may not involve in that moment needing to look at something within yourself that you're attempting to avoid, but it can give you what you need to be better capable of handling that when it comes time for you to look at those things. But avoiding looking at those things is completely missing the point of having actual spiritual growth.
Understand that I can use my imagination in regards to connecting with the hybrid children. This is more about going out underneath the stars with the intention of peaceful contact, much like what Stephen Greer is doing with his CE5 groups. I was with him for a weekend, not me personally, me and 500 other people were with him for a weekend in April. And many of the things, not many of the things, but some of the things that he did or taught us to do in order to participate or host a CE5 group really didn't resonate with me. So I was curious. I thought, well, let me go right to the source. So if someone like myself wants to go out underneath the stars with the intention of being a peaceful ambassador and with the intention of making contact with extraterrestrial beings, what is it that you recommend that someone like I do in regards to meditation, intention? Stephen Greer uses certain tones. I also am curious on whether or not I would benefit by creating an altar. And I'm getting the impression it's really about personal preference, but I was hoping that you might be able to share with me and whoever else is interested in this topic, something that we may do out underneath the stars in order to make contact or vector in extraterrestrial beings. Thank you so much. Good day.
There are many things you can do, but again, I recommend that you do it in your own way, whatever you're attracted to do. You could hum, you could ohm, you could sing, you could recite poetry. Whatever it is you are attracted to do is what you need to do. Follow your passion. Follow the guidance of your higher mind by following your passion. It's that simple. Don't make it overcomplicated.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day.
You can hear me okay, great. Do you say good day on your planet? Is that just something Earth people do?
It is a translation of our greeting.
Oh, interesting. So you guys greet each other just like us?
Well, not exactly. It's a translation. Ours happens all completely telepathically. But right. It's a good translation. It's a good translation. It's a sufficient translation into your language.
Right, but there's a commonality that we greet each other. We don't just start talking.
Yes, in a sense, there is always some sort of indication that you are being contacted or connected to something. Yes.
Oh,
it's like the idea of calling out in some way, shape, or form to allow a certain alignment to happen, to know that you are being connected with as an individual. So on your planet, good day will do.
Lovely. And are you only able to connect with me through my voice, or is there some other way that you're reading me?
I am reading energy patterns that come to us as a form of language, of shapes, colors, sizes, vibrations, frequencies, so on and so forth.
When I'm silent, are you able to still read those, or do I have to speak for you to be able to line up with those?
We can still read the silence, but the idea is that when you speak, an intention is formed that changes the pattern dramatically and thus allows us an indication of where it is you're going.
Well, thank you for being here and talking with us. We all appreciate this. I appreciate this. Thank you.
As we appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Great. This is fun. This is great. Do I have a more direct line of communication with my higher mind right now talking with you?
Yes, because we represent your higher mind. It's like you're talking with your higher mind by using us as a mask, as an excuse, as a reason to have easier communication with your higher mind.
Okay, so can you help me understand the energy? Because I kind of feel like telling my higher mind to kiss my ass for some reason. I don't know why, but I just feel like being cheeky and just kind of telling it off and kind of pissed off at it. What would be the reason for that? What's the energy behind those feelings I'm having?
Well, you might be assuming that the higher mind does things it doesn't actually do.
Yeah.
You might be more upset with your physical mind and the belief system embedded within it.
I think
the higher mind only feeds the energy, only sends the energy that makes you aware of what's going on in the physical mind. It's an illuminator. It's not a causation.
Thank you. It's an illuminator. Yeah. All the time?
All the time.
Wow, that's a good insight. So I was going to ask you, is there some advice my higher mind could share, with this direct line of communication, perhaps a stumbling block?
Yes, well, again, first and foremost, remember that the higher mind speaks in energy terms, and therefore the physical mind's translation, the physical body's translation of those energy messages is the idea of passion. That's how you interpret messages from the higher mind telling you who you actually are and how you need to act and what path you can walk. The idea of the belief systems within the physical mind can counter that, and that may be what you're upset about.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, so there's a teaching on this planet by a number of authors that sort of talk about how to deliberately create your reality And the technique that they generally agree on is that you're going to impress your subconscious mind using your imaginations and your emotions, sort of vividly imagine the reality you wish to participate in.
Yes.
And particularly right before you go to sleep in the hypnotic state.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? Because I don't hear that from you or...
Yes, we have talked about that, but we usually use the terminology of visualization to refer to what's happening there energetically. The idea is it's all well and good to do it that way, but the important difference in what we're telling you is that as soon as you get to the point where you have an idealized picture of what you can imagine with your physical mind is the highest representation of the outcome that gets you really excited, then you drop the picture and keep the excitement by making a space for what the higher mind actually needs to bring you, because your physical mind may not necessarily have an accurate portrayal of what the best outcome could possibly actually look like.
You're dropping the insistence, but you're also initiating a particular state of being that is deliberate creation. Okay.
Exactly. So it's the state of being that's important in doing that, not the picture, except for the fact that the picture is your symbol, your representation of what gets you into that state, so that when you then stop insisting on that particular outcome, then you make room for whatever the outcome actually needs to look like.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is the Bible a literal story of historical events and facts?
Well, not literal, in many cases symbolic, but it is representative of some history, although there is a lot of changes and interpretations that have been posed upon it.
I feel like, I feel like most people interpret the Bible on this planet more literally, and yet it's actually meant to be more of a metaphor or allegory. Would you say that's accurate?
Some things are representative of actual historical events that may sound allegorical. Some things are really just metaphorical. But again, do remember that even the people that say they take the Bible literally don't take all of it literally.
Okay.
Because again, if they did, they would be doing things that your society frowns upon now.
Interesting. How important is it that I participate in some of the contact supporting events, like putting a picture in my window to help acclimate with the idea of an alien? How important is that for me to actually participate in that stuff versus if I don't, in order to actually get to participate in that reality, like I'm trying to ask, if I don't bother with it, am I going to miss out on, be able to have that ET contact and ride in a spaceship? Or is that sort of thing just like a major theme that is my destiny, that I'm not going to miss it?
It's a permission slip that will work for many people. The only way you'll really miss out on it is being worried that you'll miss out on it.
Lovely. So let's talk about importance. Certain people, okay, so my question is it more important, say, to help feed the homeless versus play a video game? Or, there's other examples where people think they're so important when they're making lots of money, and then a little kid who's maybe playing outside feels that's very important to him. How do you gauge importance?
Again, it depends upon whether you're being honest and in alignment and true with the idea of what you're truly passionate about, and knowing that when you actually act upon your true passion, you will also be being in service to others. It will guide you in a way that will allow that to be obvious.
Well, now you're making it sound like being in service to others is more important.
It is what happens naturally when you act on your passion, because being in your passion is being true to yourself. And that's the most important thing, because it allows everything else to happen that needs to happen synchronistically.
I wish I had more questions. You've answered them all. It's just so lovely to spend this time with you. Thank you.
Our pleasure, our passion, and our unconditional love to you as well. Good day. Ave. One moment. All right, then. We will say good day to all of you downline, our little chokies. Referring to the idea of your artichoke, which has many layers that need to be pulled away in order to find the heart. Let us go on a journey now together for the idea that we have initiated with you of the cryptic experience for those that wish to go on the shamanistic journey and allow themselves to ground and connect more to what you call the natural world as your natural selves. Let me remind you first and foremost of the idea of the first phase of the forest path that we have explained to you as meditating for at least 15 of your minutes as you count time, with your back to a tree, connecting with your energy and facing a body of water, whether it be a stream or a babbling brook or a lake or a sea, doesn't matter. The idea being that you are connecting with your hand to the ground and allowing your energy and mentality to extend your consciousness below ground into the root system and the mycelial network that connects all the trees along which they share nutrients and energy and information with each other to become one organism, so that you can begin to bond with them in that way and start to really receive more clearly the communications along the forest path of all of the consciousness expressing itself as trees and flowers and streams and rocks and sky. All of the growing things of the earth itself, and connecting into Gaia in that way. But now we would like to introduce the first step in the next phase, which we call the animal path, this being the springtime of change, and in the fall coming up with the idea of the next change in your seasons, at that time introducing you to the elemental path. And as the Bashar has explained to some degree, the idea that there are 3 steps to each of the 3 phases for a completion total of 9 to allow you to go through the cryptic phase in that way, and then move on eventually to the nocturnal phase for those again who wish to follow this path and increase their sensitivity to the idea of higher frequency energies and those communications that exist all around every single one of you all the time that may now be invisible to you. So let us peel away some of the leaves of the artichokes that you are to find the heart by going into the idea of expanding your experience, not stopping your experience of doing the forest path in the way that we have described it to connect to that mycelial network, but continuing to enhance that for at least 15 minutes of your time, longer if you wish. But now going into the idea of the animal path. So first and foremost, we would allow you to become very relaxed in whatever way you find comfortable for you and your consciousness at this time. And allow yourself to drift and dream with whatever lights and sounds you wish to play. It's up to you. And to begin to allow yourself to open up to the animal path of the cryptic journey and the shamanistic experience in the following way. Allow your imagination to go this way now. As we describe, you can allow yourself and your imagination to go with the flow of what you are already familiar with. In other words, if you already identify with a particular kind of animal, be they the idea of cats or be the idea of dogs that you have around you constantly and commonly, that is all right. But at the moment, we would also invite you to open up to the idea of different forms of animal consciousness in different environments around your planet, around the idea of Earth at the time in which you live, be it forest, be it jungle, be it sky, be it sea, be it the idea of inviting in or attracting yourself to the consciousness of the birds, the bees, the animals that might be called mammals, the animals that might be called insects, the animals that might be called reptiles, the fish, the dolphins, the whales, whatever it is you're most attracted to. But I would caution you this. Don't necessarily choose the animal or gravitate to the animal just because you enjoy them. Allow this to be an experience of the animal truly coming to you, truly letting you know that they are there for you. And if it is something that you already have developed a strong bond with, be it the idea, as we say, of a cat or a dog, it's all right to use the animals you already consider to be family. But make sure the bond is strong. Make sure that the familiar sense is there, that they truly feel like part of your family at this time. Not just because you are enamored of them, not just because they are friendly and like to play, but truly because you consider them and feel them to be members of your family. So give yourself a moment to just use your imagination and open up to forest or jungle or sky or land or sea or savanna or plain or cold or warm. The desert or the forest doesn't matter. What matters now is that you allow yourself to feel, to stretch out your vibrational energy, to connecting to the animal you feel most bonded with. Let it come to you or you can travel to it. It doesn't matter in that way. Allow yourself simply to feel that familial bond of love. These animals that come to you or that you go to or that you have chosen here in your imagination, you must be willing to truly hold them in your heart. Truly hold them in your arms if at all possible. Truly find them to be a connection of love and light. Truly feel that you are in communion with them. Truly feel that they live with you in your family. Truly feel that they are a part of you and you a part of them, that you truly love them deeply, deeply held in that sense. Allow yourself a moment to feel this way and see what animals come up to you. Sometimes one animal may approach and it may leave. You may test it out and you may find it is not exactly the bond you're looking for, and that's fine. It does not matter in that sense. But allow yourself to go through this exercise of opening your imagination and opening up your heart to the animal path, and let the animal show you by the feeling that you have of familiarity and love and a family bond with them, that you could truly feel yourself holding them in your hands, loving them, putting your forehead to theirs if they have one, allowing themselves to truly physically interact, connect with you in that way, and be a loving source for you as you are a loving source for them, a reflection as they are a reflection for you. Allow yourself to do this and take the time necessary to really find which one works for you. I already know that for myself, it is the gravitation to the fox in many forms that is mine. And it isn't even about the idea necessarily of being the same animal that you might consider to be your own animal totem in life. That can be different. It can be the same, but it can be different. So allow yourself to really feel it deeply, the connection that you are family, you are in love with this animal, as I am in love with the fox, as the fox is part of my family, as the fox is the family to which I belong. That it goes in both directions in that way, that you really feel that connection, that strength from heart to heart and mind to mind, eye to eye, face to face, with this beautiful, loving animal consciousness. Give yourself the time to explore this until you find that one settles in and one fills your heart and fills you with love and fills you with joy and expands your consciousness to see differently, to see the world differently through its eyes, to begin to truly identify in many ways as that animal, as the animal identifies as you, to truly share, immerse yourselves in the vibrational state and bubble of each other. That is, each of your realities becoming one, sharing that overlap, to truly create a third identity with you as animal and animal as you, to allow yourself to truly the time to experience these things in love and joy and relaxation, and to drift with each other and dream with each other until it becomes a kind of a blur, so you cannot tell yourselves apart by looking through each other's eyes and being in love with one another truly, deeply. And allow yourself that time to drift and harmonize and feel that love and that joy with each other. This is the second part of the cryptic journey, and this is just the beginning. For again, as has been explained, as you go through every part, it is just the first part of each of the three phases of the cryptic journey, and we will come back around again and again to take you to the next level of the forest path and the animal path and the elemental path, so that you can complete the circuitry of the 9 in each of the stages, the overall stages, the first being the cryptic that grounds you and connects you to nature, to Gaia, as your expression of Gaia, so that you can make sure you are anchored to the earth as you then continue on to explore other dimensional realms in the nocturnal and the shapeshifter and the sage and the wraith levels, as you will want to be do if you have a mind to, as you have a gravitation to, as you have an attraction to. For not everyone necessarily has to go through the entire set. You can allow yourself to stop at being the cryptic You can stop it being the nocturnal. Whatever it is that feels correct to you, you can do. For the path, the full path, is not for everyone, nor does it need to be. But we take you on this journey with us this time so that you become into the lodge of the brotherhood and the sisterhood of whatever it is you wish to be, of the spirithood that is you, into this lodge that we offer you this invitation for, to follow the cryptic path in whatever way, shape, or form you so desire or not. 'Tis up to you, and we welcome you with open arms and open heart and open mind into the lodge that we share on the journey of the cryptic and the journey of the shaman, the journey of the spirit and the journey of the soul in this particular way at this particular timing. Allow yourselves to be immersed in this whenever you so desire. Don't forget to allow yourselves the forest path too, of constantly going into the idea of the woods and sitting with your back to the tree and facing the water and deepening your sense of consciousness into the mycelial root system. And then also following this idea of the animal path and allowing yourself to drift and dream as you strengthen the bond of love and family between you and the animal that shows up for you in this way. So that will be the second part that you can practice, 1 and 2 in that way, and we will then bring you the third part of the elemental path in its first step in the fall, which is the appropriate timing to get in touch with the elementals, as you know, because that's truly, in a sense, what Halloween is all about. So now enjoy and revel and celebrate the spring with the animal path by going more deeply into nature on the cryptic path, the shaman path, the spirit path of the lodge that we invite you to belong to on this journey with us. Our unconditional love to you, my dear little artichokes, as you peel away those leaves and find the core and find the heart of your being that is so delicious. For every single one of you is beautiful in that way. We thank you, and we now turn you back to the Bashar, and we will see you again. For we will now be more upline, and you will be now downline, but we will be closer to each other through this particular journey, through this particular exercise, and we will become more in love with each other, more bonded as family with each other in this way, and more part of the same lodge, more part of the same humanhood and hybridhood and spirithood. Our love to you all. Blessings and good day. And give us a moment. All right, now as you allow yourself to absorb the information that Willa has given you and to apply it in your lives, in whatever way, shape, or form your imagination so desires and your higher mind guides you, allow yourself to know that you have been given this gift to look more deeply within yourself, to discover more aspects of your being and your consciousness, and to live in more joy and in more love and in more light and more beauty. The beauty that unfolds from the center of your being, the spark of light that is the reflection of all that is within you. Our unconditional love and deep appreciation to you all for allowing us with you to co-create this experience this day of your time. Until we meet again, welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home. Aveo. And to you, good day.
Good day. I was invited here, and I've never experienced you before.
And what a coincidence. I've never experienced you before either.
Amazing.
So we're on the same level already.
My first question is on behalf of my mother.
Yes.
Who invited me here today.
Yes.
If Daryl Enka is here and speaking for a future self, Bashar, what happened in between?
We're not sure that your question is translating. What exactly are you asking?
How did you become this entity?
You mean, how did the channel become a channel for us?
Yes.
Well, that story does exist in many forms. The brief version is that many of your years ago, because an agreement was made for the channel to do this with us in this life, we showed him our spacecraft on 2 occasions in 1 week. Because he had those particular close broad daylight sightings, his curiosity to research and explore what that meant became paramount in his vision. Therefore, through the research, through many years, he encountered many different kinds of concepts that you would call metaphysical, and ultimately found his way, synchronistically, to another channel who was teaching a channeling class with an entity. And in going into that class to research the idea of how channeling could be taught, in a meditative state, a memory finally came back and a message was delivered by us that now that he remembered, we had shown him our ship to get him to start learning what he needed to learn, so that by the time it came time to begin the channeling, he would be prepared to do so and wouldn't be confused or scared. Then he took upon himself the willingness to continue and see where it would lead. Thus, 37 of your years ago, he began this and is still doing it today, because he understands that the most important thing about this particular process is the accessibility to the information that will help individuals who choose to use it for that purpose. Does that answer your question?
I hope it does. Thank you.
Or are you asking something different?
I will be asking another line of questioning on behalf of myself now.
All right.
As I'm developing business
Yes.
and success and
Oh,
influences...
One moment. There's another piece to this idea. Understand that the way this happens for all of you is that when you do what you love to do, you're in the channeling state, which is a particular brainwave frequency between 40 and 100 cycles per second called gamma. And when you're in that state, you are matching frequencies with other levels of consciousness. And in matching those frequencies, you generate the same thoughts at the same time as the other entity. So the channel is functioning as a translation device by allowing himself to get into an altered state that represents the ability to translate his own thoughts at the same level that my thoughts are happening. So in that sense, he becomes a representation of my thoughts, a representation of my personality, a representation of the information through his own body, because we're operating in lockstep like tuning forks. That's how channeling works. So, proceed with your own question.
Thank you. As I develop influence and success through business,
Yes.
I'm finding that even though I intend to benefit society and myself, there are unintended consequences that negatively affect other people.
Such as?
Creating a new system or way of doing things
Yes.
that is putting other people out of work.
So what can be done to ameliorate that?
Is it possible to undertake business without, or any other type of political organization without unintentionally negatively affecting others?
Others that choose to be negatively affected is something you can do nothing about. But if you realize that what you're doing may bring about the potential for change that may make it less likely for them to continue to do what they're doing, then a portion of the business to truly be successful must undertake the entire operation of providing, at the very least, information that may help educate others to learn how to do something else.
Excellent. And with regards to acting in a business,
Yes.
when one's reality and interests conflict negatively with another's, or completely opposing interests,
that's usually the result of surface negative fear-based belief systems. And when you get those out of the way and go really into the depth of what each being really needs, you will usually find more coherence, or that their needs can be fulfilled much simpler than you think. Because usually people say, well, I really need this, I really need that, and they don't really. When it comes down to the simple things they truly need,
you can usually find a way to satisfy everybody if they're willing to divest themselves of the superficial things they think they need in order to be successful. They will usually discover that it's actually very simple and that some accommodation can be had by all.
So in an event that interests and needs are completely divergent.
Give us an example.
Let's say that, let's say you try and help somebody with one thing and it results in them identifying a piece of their building that is imminently going to kill people if it collapses.
All right.
And they wish to waylay blame onto the person who is discovering this.
So this is what I'm talking about. You are dealing with individuals who are simply unwilling to look and take responsibility at their own belief systems.
And so what decides whose reality prevails?
You both do, for yourselves. But again, you have to also question yourself about exactly why you have involved yourself in something that brought about interaction with someone who may not be willing to see eye to eye. So you have to take responsibility for your part of the experience while allowing them to take responsibility for their part, whether they're willing to do that or not. It's up to you to take responsibility for your part and why you attracted this and what it is you're learning from this experience and whether or not it's something you even need to continue with.
How does one bring that into their reality, such negativity?
You attract it because it exists, and you attract it to learn something from it and decide for yourself whether it's something you want to continue to interact with or not.
And how does one leave that interaction?
You walk away. You let go. You realize you don't really need it anymore. You realize you've learned the lesson from it. Remember that sometimes you will attract very strongly a representation of what you don't prefer to make it clearer what you do prefer. And if it's made clear what you do prefer by contrast from what you don't prefer, then turn around and go and do what you prefer. Don't keep hanging on to what you don't prefer, thinking that you have to remain engaged with it. You have learned the lesson. Walk away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Remember that by being your true self, it's the most loving thing you can do for someone else, because then they understand who they're actually in a relationship with. And if they actually wish to continue to be in a relationship with you, then that gives them the option to change to be more compatible with you, so that you don't have to change to become more compatible with something you don't. Negatively oriented in fifth density is the lower astral realm, where you can have spirits that have unfinished business, may not even know that they're dead, may be harboring and holding on to old belief systems that don't let them to pass on to higher realms of spirit. So you can have that experience in the lower astral realm of non-physical reality, which is fifth density.
Okay, and how do non-physical and quasi-physical beings experience laughter? Do you all laugh? And
Yes, we do. The idea, again, is that it may be experienced as an overwhelming or larger infused sensation that is more expansive than just being contained within the physical parameters of a body. It's like suddenly being filled with light, would perhaps be the closest analogy we can make.
I think you mentioned if you actually started laughing when you're when Daryl's in the channeling state, that it would wake him up or make him come out of the state?
It would cause a disconnection because the laughter would be centering for us. So as we blend more, as the channel matches our frequency more, there can be some slight opportunities for you to experience us having a laugh. But in general, were we to go fully into that state, there might be a disconnection if the channel's vibration is not equal to the level in which we experience that state.
I see.
So we do, in some sense, allow there to be a slight suppression of that when we are doing this and having this connection, because we often laugh. and therefore you would be constantly having an interruption.
I guess you have to learn how to control that, huh, when you're channeling.
So it's automatic. Because again, it comes with our intention of delivering information in a certain way, and therefore it's automatically dampened to the degree necessary for us to continue the conversation.
And one person asked, why has Daryl's style of channeling Bashar's energy changed over time? It seems like there is less of an accent, less teeth clicking, less affect. Is this because something has changed about Earth's vibration over time and it's gotten easier to transmit to us here? And why did it originally come through the way that it did?
Yes, it's a matter of practice. It's a matter of getting used to a frequency. It's a matter of becoming his version of us, raising his vibration to become more like us, and therefore there's less difference between us and him. Therefore, you would experience less difference. In the beginning, of course, he wasn't used to our energy at all, and therefore it took some time for him to allow his vibration to rise to the point where you start to lose the differences between us, and we can rely more on the way he exists in his reality to deliver the information in a way that is not filtered, because he is more willing to be open and letting the information come through. And this is part and parcel of the practice of him becoming a teacher himself on his planet, because he is now familiar enough with our principles to be able to do so, knowing that he is delivering relatively accurate information. Because the idea of all channeling is not necessarily for the differences to continue, but for the similarities to become more apparent in your reality, to know that you are just as connected to everything just like we are, and can exhibit that for yourselves. Therefore, you will experience less of a difference. There will be a few things that may remain, so that you understand that there will be a perceived difference on a minor level. But nevertheless, the idea is for fluidity and flow to take over, so that the information can come through, whether from us or from him, to the same degree.
Wonderful.
And the idea of the teeth clicking and other things like that is simply that from time to time, there may be something that we are doing for which there is no translation, and so his body must react to something, and therefore it will be in a non-verbal, non-linguistic fashion that lets you know that something is going on our side that you may not be aware of, that you may not be seeing fully, but the clicking and other affectations may let you know that something is going on that's not being translated fully.
And that's true sometimes when he moves his hands,
Yes.
He's actually mimicking something you're doing on the ship, right?
Yes. If I were now to simply place my hand on a panel, he could ignore it or he could allow himself to go with it, such as this. It just depends on how connected he may be at any given moment in a certain way, whether it's relevant for that expression to be shown, because there are many things we are transmitting to many of you that don't come through verbally. It's also part of the communication that comes through to your unconscious and subconscious self, and representative of a different form and different level of information being downloaded into you to the degree that you are willing to open up to it. So sometimes paying attention to the things that are happening non-verbally can actually be another level of the communication.
Yes, that's true. That's why you said it.
Yeah.
This person's saying they've been longing for contact and they look up at the sky day and night and they wonder if their star family can sense that they want contact. Why isn't it happening? And what do I have to do to connect in with that reality sooner than the rest of humanity?
Stop longing for it and follow the formula. Be where you are. Where you are on Earth is the most important place for you to be. Yes, of course, they're aware of it. But they're also aware of the timing that is necessary that benefits everyone. You can't necessarily run ahead of everyone. That doesn't really serve the purpose you agreed to in having this physical reality. So we understand that the longing is the product of more awareness of the fact that you have connections to many other beings among the stars, but you can't use it as a negative, as if, again, you're missing something. You have to allow yourself to make the connection, be aware of the connection, feel the energy, but bring that energy down to earth and apply it in your life
in the most positive, exciting, passionate way. That's what accelerates the probability of having the physical connection sooner than later. But again, drop the insistence and there will be no resistance. Just go with the flow, follow your passion, follow the formula, and allow yourself to experience this as a connection of energy, not a longing, which implies the idea that you're missing something. That something else would be better than where you are now, which it isn't. Where you are now is the most important thing that could be happening.
And haven't you said also that when you're following your passion, when you raise your frequency through letting go of negative beliefs and things like that, ET contact, extra dimensional contact, all those things are a side effect in a sense as your frequency goes up. It's automatic in that regard, right?
It is. But again, watch your belief systems and your definitions. Because sometimes when people hear that, they get excited about doing that only for the purpose of accelerating it, which again brings them back to the idea that they're not living in the moment.
Tricky.
If you say so.
As we move into the window of open contact, will there be a significant increase in new channelers and beings working through them?
Yes.
It's almost like a resurgence of more channeling.
Yes, but in different ways. Again, there are many forms of channeling. But the general answer is yes.
Okay. And is there an alien civilization whose political system is a dictatorship?
Yes, of course. Those things exist, and we have discussed some that existed in what you call the past in the ancient Orion systems, which were extremely oppressive and dictatorial. And there are some that still exist out among the stars. It's not like they can basically reach you or affect you in any given way. But yes, they do exist here and there. Because you always change, and you become differently perfect as you are in that definition of that moment. So perfection is not the end. Perfection is a process, continual process that never ends. It is the willingness to be more and more of your true self. That's all it is. Does that help?
I'd like more clarification on how can every moment be perfect? Aren't there two sides to
every moment you are a perfect version of what you are. You are equating the idea of perfection as if you are trying to reach a goal after which you will never change. That will never occur. Ever. Because you can always change. You can always become something else. Change is the only constant in creation.